The unexpected visitor. The alien scout ship pierced Earth's atmosphere like a blade, its sleek metallic hull glinting in the sunlight. Inside the craft, the Zorgax crew braced themselves, their spindly fingers gripping the controls tightly. They had studied Earth from afar, meticulously planning their conquest. But as their ship plunged deeper into the planet's gravitational well, an unsettling realization dawned upon them. They had grossly underestimated the strength of Earth's gravity. Captain Zyloff, the mission commander, felt an unfamiliar pressure weighing down on his slender frame. His large, bulbous eyes widened in surprise as he struggled to maintain his composure. Around him, the ship groaned and shuddered, its advanced propulsion systems straining against the relentless pull of Earth's mass. "Report," Zyloff barked, his voice strained. "What's happening to the ship?" The navigator, a wiry Zorgax named Xander, frantically scanned the instrument panels. "Captain, our engines are struggling to compensate for Earth's gravitational force. It's far stronger than our initial calculations indicated." Zyloff gritted his teeth, his mind racing. They had come so far, traveling countless light years to reach this resource-rich planet. Failure was not an option. "Divert all auxiliary power to the engines," he commanded. "We must maintain control." A rough landing. Despite their efforts, the scout ship continued to lose altitude at an alarming rate. The hull temperature spiked as friction from Earth's atmosphere seared the craft's exterior. Inside, the Zorgax crew held on for dear life, their bodies pressed against their seats by the unrelenting force of gravity. "Brace for impact," Zyloff shouted as the ship hurtled towards the ground. The scout craft plowed into a remote, heavily forested region, carving a deep gash into the earth. The impact was violent, jarring the crew and sending shockwaves reverberating through the ship's structure. Consoles sparked and shut down, plunging the interior into darkness. The Zorgax, battered and disoriented, slowly regained their bearings. Captain Zyloff unbuckled himself from his seat, his movements labored and slow. He felt as though an invisible weight was pressing down on him from all directions. "Damage report," he croaked, his voice raspy. Xander, nursing a gash on his forehead, assessed the readouts. "Hull integrity compromised, Captain. Main engines offline. We're grounded." Zyloff's heart sank. This was not the triumphant landing they had envisioned. Earth's gravity had proven to be a formidable adversary, one they had foolishly underestimated. Emergence. With great effort, the Zorgax crew pried open the damaged hatch of their scout ship. As the hatch hissed open, the aliens were greeted by the rich scents of Earth's atmosphere, a mix of foliage, damp soil, and the acrid tang of burnt metal from their own vessel. Captain Zyloff was the first to emerge, his spindly legs shaking as he stepped onto the alien soil. The gravity felt even more oppressive outside the confines of the ship. Each movement required tremendous effort, and the Zorgax commander found himself struggling to maintain his balance. One by one, the rest of the crew disembarked, their slender bodies hunched and straining against the pull of Earth's gravity. They surveyed the wreckage of their once proud vessel, now half buried in the dirt amidst a sea of broken trees. As Zyloff took in the unfamiliar surroundings, the towering evergreens, the chirping of strange avian creatures, the distant sound of running water, a grim realization settled over him. They were stranded on this hostile world, their mission already compromised by an enemy they had never even considered, Earth's gravity itself. The Zorgax had always prided themselves on their advanced technology and superior intellect. But as they stood there, struggling to remain upright under the crushing weight of Earth's gravitational field, a flicker of doubt crept into Zyloff's mind. Had they overestimated their own abilities? Had they underestimated the resilience and strength of this seemingly primitive planet? As if in answer to his unspoken questions, the sound of approaching vehicles reached Zyloff's auditory receptors. The humans had detected their presence. The real battle for Earth was about to begin. And the Zorgax would soon learn the true meaning of survival of the fittest on this unforgiving world. Discovery in the woods. Sergeant Maria Vasquez of the United States Army Rangers had seen her fair share of combat, but nothing could have prepared her for the sight that greeted her deep in the forests of the Pacific Northwest. The dense canopy of trees had been shattered, a swath of destruction carving a path through the wilderness. At the end of this path lay a sight that seemed torn from the pages of a science fiction novel: a crashed alien spacecraft. Vasquez and her squad had been deployed to investigate reports of a meteor impact, but as they approached the scene, it became clear that this was no ordinary space rock. The craft was unlike anything they had ever seen, its smooth, metallic surface gleaming in the dappled sunlight that filtered through the trees. "Command, this is Ranger 1. Vasquez spoke into her radio, her voice steady despite the incredible discovery. "We have visual confirmation of an unidentified spacecraft. Requesting backup and further instructions. Over." As they waited for a response, Vasquez signaled for her squad to establish a perimeter around the crash site. They moved cautiously, weapons at the ready, unsure of what they might encounter. Close encounter. Suddenly, movement near the downed craft caught Vasquez's eye. She raised her fist, signaling for her squad to halt. Emerging from the wreckage were a group of spindly, alien figures, their elongated limbs and large eyes unlike any creature she had ever seen. The aliens, clearly disoriented and struggling to move in Earth's gravity, seemed to be in a state of distress. They clung to the sides of their ship, their movements slow and labored. Vasquez approached cautiously, her weapon lowered but ready. "I am Sergeant Vasquez of the United States Army," she announced, her voice amplified by a translator device. "We mean you no harm. Please identify yourselves." The lead alien, its skin a mottled gray, looked up at her with eyes that seemed to hold a mix of fear and resignation. "I am Captain Zyloth of the Zorgax," it said, its voice tinny and strained. "We have come to claim this world for our own." Vasquez's grip tightened on her weapon. "I'm afraid we can't allow that," she said firmly. "You are trespassing on our planet, and we will defend it." The gravity of the situation. As if to punctuate her statement, one of the aliens suddenly collapsed, its spindly legs giving out under the crushing weight of Earth's gravity. It lay on the ground, gasping for air, its large eyes wide with panic. Zyloth, still clinging to the ship for support, looked at Vasquez with a mix of anger and desperation. "Your world is killing us," it said, its voice strained. "We cannot survive in this environment." Vasquez felt a flicker of pity for the struggling creatures, but she knew she couldn't let her guard down. "Then you should not have come here uninvited," she said, her tone unyielding. Zyloth's eyes narrowed. With a shaking hand, it reached for a device on its belt, a sleek, metallic object that Vasquez recognized as a weapon. "We will not be defeated so easily," the alien captain hissed. But as Zyloth tried to aim the weapon, its arm trembled and fell, the device slipping from its grasp and clattering to the ground. The alien let out a frustrated cry, its body sagging against the hull of the ship. Vasquez signaled for her squad to move in and secure the aliens. "We're taking you into custody," she said, her voice firm. "Your invasion ends here." As the Rangers surrounded the weakened Zorgax, Vasquez couldn't help but marvel at the turn of events. Earth's gravity, the very force they took for granted every day, had proven to be their greatest ally in the face of an alien threat. But even as the aliens were led away, Vasquez knew that this was only the beginning. The Zorgax had come to Earth for a reason, and she had a feeling that their defeat would not deter them for long. The battle for Earth had begun, and gravity was just the first weapon in humanity's arsenal. Prisoners of gravity. In a secure military facility deep underground, the captured Zorgax crew found themselves facing a new challenge: interrogation. Sergeant Vasquez and her team had brought the aliens to this secret location for questioning, hoping to uncover the true purpose behind their attempted invasion. Captain Zyloth sat across from Vasquez, his spindly frame dwarfed by the human-sized chair. Even in the controlled environment of the interrogation room, The alien leader struggled against the constant pull of Earth's gravity. His movements were slow and labored, each gesture a reminder of his species' physical limitations on this world. "Why have you come to Earth?" Vasquez asked, her tone firm but not unkind. "What do you hope to gain by invading our planet?" Xyloth's large eyes fixed on the sergeant, a flicker of defiance in their depths. "Your world is rich in resources," he said, his voice strained. "Resources that the Zorgax desperately need. We had hoped to establish a colony here, to secure a future for our species." Vasquez leaned forward, her elbows resting on the table. "And you thought you could just take what you wanted, without considering the consequences?" The alien captain's gaze wavered. "We underestimated the strength of your planet's gravity," he admitted. "It has proven to be a formidable obstacle, one we were not prepared for." The exosuit gamut. In another part of the facility, the Zorgax engineers were hard at work. They had been granted access to a workshop, under heavy guard, to develop a solution to their gravity problem. The aliens knew that if they were to have any hope of completing their mission, they would need to find a way to counteract the debilitating effects of Earth's gravitational field. Xander, the Zorgax navigator, led the engineering team. His nimble fingers danced over the alien technology they had salvaged from their wrecked ship, repurposing components and fabricating new ones. The engineers worked tirelessly, driven by a desperate need to adapt and overcome. Days turned into weeks as the Zorgax toiled in secret. Slowly, a new form of technology began to take shape. Exosuits designed specifically to help the aliens withstand Earth's gravity. These sleek, mechanical suits would provide support and augment their strength, allowing them to move and function more easily on this world. As the first prototype was completed, Xander felt a surge of hope. The exosuit, a marvel of Zorgax engineering, would be their key to conquering Earth. If they could mass-produce these suits for their entire invasion force, they would be unstoppable. Testing grounds. Captain Xyloth stood before Sergeant Vasquez, his body encased in the newly designed exosuit. The mechanical frame hummed softly, its advanced systems working to counteract the pull of Earth's gravity. For the first time since their arrival, Xyloth felt a sense of power and control. Vasquez eyed the alien captain warily. "I thought we had an understanding," she said, her hand resting on her sidearm. "You were to share your technology with us, to help us understand your species better." Xyloth's eyes narrowed behind the visor of his exosuit. "And so we have," he said, his voice amplified by the suit's speakers. "But you must understand, Sergeant, that we have a mission to complete. We cannot abandon our duty to our people." Vasquez's grip tightened on her weapon. "If you continue down this path, you will leave us no choice but to stop you." Xyloth's exosuit whirred as he took a step forward, his movements now fluid and purposeful. "You are welcome to try, human," he said, a hint of threat in his voice. "But know this, the Zorgax are resilient. We adapt, we overcome. Your gravity may have slowed us down, but it will not stop us." With a final nod, Xyloth turned and strode out of the room, his exosuit carrying him forward with newfound strength. Vasquez watched him go, a sense of unease settling in her gut. She knew that the real battle for Earth was about to begin. And this time, the Zorgax would not be so easily defeated. The mountain fortress, high in the Rocky Mountains, nestled among the rugged peaks and deep valleys, stood a secret military installation known as Fort Olympus. This remote base, hidden from prying eyes, served as a strategic command center for monitoring and responding to extraterrestrial threats. Sergeant Vasquez and her squad had been dispatched to Fort Olympus following the escape of Captain Xyloth and his Zorgax crew. Intelligence reports indicated that the aliens, now equipped with their gravity-defying exosuits, were planning a strike against the mountain stronghold. As the sun dipped below the jagged horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and red, Vasquez stood atop the fortress walls, her gaze scanning the surrounding landscape. The thin mountain air chilled her lungs, but she welcomed the clarity it brought to her mind. "Any sign of the Zorgax?" she asked, glancing at the soldier beside her. Private Jensen, a young recruit with keen eyes, shook his head. "Nothing yet, Sergeant, but we got motion sensors and cameras covering every approach. If they come, we'll see them." Vasquez nodded, a grim smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. "Let them come," she said, her voice low and determined. "We'll show them what it means to fight on our turf." The uphill battle. Under the cover of darkness, Captain Zyloth led his strike force through the rugged mountain terrain. The Zorgax, clad in their sleek black exosuits, moved with unnatural grace and agility, their mechanical limbs propelling them forward with ease. But even with their advanced technology, the aliens found the ascent challenging. The steep inclines and treacherous paths took their toll, forcing the Zorgax to expend more energy than they had anticipated. The thin air at high altitudes added to their difficulties, making each step a labored effort. Zyloth, his exosuit whirring with exertion, pushed onwards. He knew that the success of their mission hinged on reaching the summit and striking at the heart of the human defenses. With each passing minute, the strain on his body grew, but he refused to yield. As they neared the fortress walls, the Zorgax encountered their first line of resistance. Hidden among the rocks and crags, human snipers opened fire, their high-powered rifles sending armor-piercing rounds screaming through the night. Zyloth's warriors returned fire, their own weapons blazing with searing energy beams. The mountain air lit up with the chaos of battle, the echoes of gunfire, and the sizzle of energy weapons reverberating through the valleys. The turning tide. Inside Fort Olympus, Sergeant Vasquez and her squad prepared for the inevitable breach. They had studied the Zorgax's tactics and technology, and they knew that the aliens would stop at nothing to achieve their objective. As the first explosions rocked the fortress walls, Vasquez and her team sprang into action. They raced through the winding corridors, taking up defensive positions at key junctures and choke points. The Zorgax, their exosuits battered but still functioning, poured through the breach like a metallic tide. They moved with ruthless efficiency, their weapons cutting down any human defenders who stood in their way. But the humans had a plan. They lured the aliens deeper into the mountain, drawing them into narrow passages and confined spaces where their exosuits' mobility was limited. Here, in the close quarters of the fortress's interior, the humans could engage the Zorgax on more equal terms. Vasquez led the charge, her rifle blazing as she dodged and weaved through the chaos. She knew every inch of the fortress, every hidden alcove and secret passage. She used this knowledge to her advantage, leading her squad in hit-and-run attacks that slowly whittled down the Zorgax's numbers. As the battle raged on, the tide began to turn. The Zorgax, their exosuits damaged and their energy reserves depleted, found themselves pushed back, cornered, and outmaneuvered. The humans, fighting with the fervor of those defending their home, pressed their advantage. In the end, it was the mountains themselves that sealed the Zorgax's fate. The thin air, the steep inclines, and the unforgiving terrain sapped their strength and dulled their reflexes. The exosuits, for all their advanced technology, could not fully compensate for the challenges of the high-altitude environment. As the last of the Zorgax fell, Sergeant Vasquez stood amidst the wreckage of the battle, her face streaked with sweat and grime. She looked out over the mountain landscape, the first rays of dawn breaking through the clouds. They had won this battle, but she knew that the war was far from over. The Zorgax would not give up so easily, and they would undoubtedly adapt their strategies for the next encounter. But for now, the mountains stood tall, a testament to the strength and resilience of the human spirit. And as long as Vasquez and her fellow defenders drew breath, they would continue to fight, to protect their world from those who sought to conquer it. The price of victory. In the aftermath of the battle at Fort Olympus, the human defenders took stock of their losses. The Zorgax attack had been fierce, and many brave soldiers had fallen in defense of the mountain stronghold. The fortress walls bore the scars of the alien onslaught, scorched and battered, a testament to the intensity of the fighting. Sergeant Vasquez, her armor dented and her face smudged with soot, walked among the survivors, offering words of comfort and encouragement. She knew that the victory had come at a high cost, and that the road ahead would be long and difficult. As the wounded were tended to and the dead were laid to rest, Vasquez couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The Zorgacs had proven themselves to be a formidable enemy, and their technology, even when hampered by Earth's gravity, was far beyond anything the humans had ever encountered. A shattered resolve. In the depths of the Rocky Mountains, in a hidden cave that served as their temporary base, the surviving Zorgacs licked their wounds and pondered their next move. Captain Zylov, his exosuit battered and his pride bruised, paced back and forth, his mind racing with the implications of their defeat. The Zorgacs had never encountered a species as resilient and adaptable as the humans. Even with their advanced technology and their gravity-defying exosuits, they had been outmaneuvered and outfought. The cost of their failed assault weighed heavily on Zylov's shoulders, the losses in personnel and equipment a bitter pill to swallow. As he looked around at his defeated warriors, Zylov saw the toll that Earth's gravity had taken on them. Even with their exosuits, the constant strain of fighting against the planet's pull had worn them down, sapping their strength and dulling their reflexes. A bitter realization. Xander, the Zorgac's navigator and engineer, approached Zylov, his expression grim. "Captain," he said, his voice low and strained, "I fear we have underestimated the humans. Their determination and resourcefulness are unlike anything we have ever encountered." Zylov's eyes narrowed, his pride warring with the undeniable truth of Xander's words. "What are you suggesting, navigator?" he asked, his voice tight with tension. Xander hesitated, knowing that his next words could be seen as a sign of weakness. "I believe it may be time to consider withdrawal," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Zylov's eyes widened in shock, his mandibles clicking with agitation. "Withdrawal," he hissed, his voice dripping with venom. "The Zorgacs do not retreat, navigator. We do not abandon our mission." But even as he spoke the words, Zylov could feel the weight of their defeat pressing down on him. The humans had proven themselves to be a formidable adversary, and Earth's gravity, the very thing they had sought to conquer, had become their greatest enemy. A difficult decision. As the Zorgacs licked their wounds and debated their next move, Sergeant Vasquez and her fellow defenders prepared for the inevitable counterattack. They knew that the aliens would not give up so easily, and that the battle for Earth was far from over. But as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, no further attacks came. The Zorgacs, it seemed, had vanished as suddenly as they had appeared, leaving behind only the wreckage of their failed invasion. Vasquez, her eyes scanning the skies for any sign of the alien threat, couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. She knew that the Zorgacs were out there somewhere, licking their wounds and plotting their next move. But she also knew that the humans had proven themselves to be a force to be reckoned with. They had taken on an alien invasion and emerged victorious, thanks in no small part to the very thing that the Zorgacs had sought to conquer: Earth's gravity. As she looked out over the rugged mountains and the vast expanse of the American West, Vasquez couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. They had defended their world against an alien threat, and they had done so on their own terms. But even as she savored the victory, Vasquez knew that the war was far from over. The Zorgacs would be back, and next time, they would be better prepared. The humans would need to be ready to adapt and evolve, just as they had always done. For now, though, the Earth was safe, and the mountains stood tall, a testament to the strength and resilience of the human spirit. The bittersweet victory. In the months following the Zorgacs' defeat at Fort Olympus, a sense of cautious optimism settled over the Earth. The alien threat, which had once seemed insurmountable, had been beaten back, and humanity had emerged victorious. But even as the world celebrated, there was an undercurrent of unease, a recognition that the war was far from over. Sergeant Vasquez, now a hero in the eyes of the public, found herself at the center of a whirlwind of activity. She was called upon to give speeches, to attend meetings with world leaders, and to share her experiences with an eager press. But through it all, she remained focused on one thing: preparing for the Zorgax's inevitable return. Reverse engineering the future. Deep within secure government facilities, teams of scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to unravel the secrets of the captured Zorgax technology. The alien exosuits, which had proven to be such a formidable adversary, were now the subject of intense study and reverse engineering efforts. The goal was simple: to use the Zorgax's own technology against them, to create a new generation of human weapons and defenses that could stand up to any future alien threats. It was a daunting task, but one that humanity was well suited for. After all, adaptation and innovation were the hallmarks of the human spirit. As the weeks turned into months, breakthroughs were made, and new technologies began to emerge. Powered exoskeletons, energy weapons, and advanced sensory systems all became reality, thanks to the tireless efforts of Earth's brightest minds. The Zorgax Dilemma. Far from Earth, on the Zorgax homeworld, Captain Xyloth and his surviving crew faced a different kind of challenge. Their defeat at the hands of the humans had shaken the very foundations of their society, and many began to question the wisdom of their expansionist agenda. Xyloth, once a hero among his people, now found himself the target of scorn and derision. He had led the invasion of Earth, and he had failed. The cost in lives and resources had been staggering, and there were many who called for his head. But even as he faced the anger and disappointment of his people, Xyloth couldn't help but feel a grudging respect for the humans. They had proven themselves to be a formidable adversary, one that had used the very environment of their planet as a weapon against the invaders. A new threat. As the Zorgax struggled to come to terms with their defeat, a new threat emerged from the depths of space. Another alien race, drawn by the rumors of the Zorgax's failed invasion, had set its sights on Earth. They were the Kralzak, a species known for their ruthlessness and their advanced technology. The Kralzak had watched the Zorgax's defeat with interest, and they had learned from their mistakes. They knew that Earth's gravity would be a challenge, but they had developed their own countermeasures, including advanced propulsion systems and artificial gravity generators. As the Kralzak fleet approached Earth, humanity once again found itself facing an existential threat. But this time, they were ready. The next chapter. Sergeant Vasquez, now a leader in Earth's defense forces, stood on the bridge of a massive human warship, her eyes fixed on the viewscreen before her. The Kralzak fleet, a sea of sleek, menacing ships, hung in the void of space, poised to strike. But as she watched, Vasquez felt a sense of calm settle over her. They had been through this before, and they had emerged victorious. Earth's gravity, once their greatest weakness, had become their greatest strength, and they had learned to use it to their advantage. As the first shots were fired, and the battle began anew, Vasquez couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity had come so far, and they had proven themselves to be a force to be reckoned with. They had taken on the universe and emerged stronger, smarter, and more determined than ever before. And as long as they had gravity on their side, Vasquez knew that they could face any challenge, any threat that the universe could throw at them. For in the end, it was the strength of the human spirit, the unbreakable will to survive and thrive, that would always triumph.